Welcome back once again, all of my low-carb friends, and for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. Today I have another very easy keto recipe for you. So if you want a printable version of this recipe, you can check out my website at janetsdeliciouslowcarbkitchen.com. You can find a printable version of this recipe and other goodies there for you. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see lots of easy, delicious, low-carb keto recipes, make sure you click that subscribe button and click the notification bell that's right next to the subscribe button. That way you can be notified every time I put out new videos. And if you are a music lover, make sure you check out the link in the description to my other YouTube channel, Inspirational Songs with Janet. I've recorded another new song there, so make sure you check that out and subscribe to that channel also. And while you do all that, let's get cooking. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Lightly grease a 9-inch pie pan and then set it aside for a minute. In a medium mixing bowl, combine 140 grams or around 1 1/4 cups of coconut flour, 25 grams or around 1/4 cup of cocoa powder, 60 grams or around 1/3 cup of the brown sugar sweetener of your choice, I'm using brown monk fruit sweetener, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Sift everything together until the dry ingredients are fully combined and there are no lumps. Pour the dry ingredients into your prepared pie pan. Add 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 1/2 cup of butter that's been melted. Make sure it's fully melted. Stir the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients together until all the dry ingredients are fully moistened by the butter and the vanilla. You might need to use your hands a little bit and just kind of scoop everything up. You want to make sure that every little piece of the dry ingredients gets moistened. Use your hands and press the crumbs together to make sure that they are going to fully and firmly stick together. Then use your fingers or the back of a measuring cup and press the crumbs out evenly throughout the bottom and up the sides of your pie pan. Place the pie in your preheated oven and bake it for about 10 minutes or until it's firm. Once the crust has been baked, remove it from the oven and let it sit for about 5 minutes just so it can cool a bit. Then place it in the refrigerator until you're ready to use it. Pour 71 milliliters or around 1/3 of a cup of the keto milk of your choice into a large mixing bowl. My favorite keto milk is always coconut milk. Gradually whisk in 1/4 ounce or around 2 1/4 teaspoons of unflavored gelatin. Make sure while you are sprinkling in the gelatin that you are continually whisking so that gelatin gets fully dissolved inside of the milk. And again, make sure you're just gradually sprinkling in the gelatin powder. You don't want to toss it in all at once. It can clump up and then be harder to whisk in. Whisk the gelatin powder and the milk together until they are fully combined and there are no lumps. Make sure the gelatin powder is completely dissolved. Then set it aside for a bit so it can firm up. In a medium saucepan over medium heat, combine 12 ounces or around 1 1/2 cups of the keto milk of your choice, or you can use cream if you prefer to have a more creamy texture in your pie. And again, my favorite keto milk is always coconut milk if you are using the milk rather than the cream. Add 142 grams or around 3/4 cup of the granulated sugar substitute of your choice. I'm using granulated monk fruit allulose blend. Normally, you'll see that in most of my baked recipes, when I'm using a granulated sugar substitute, I use the monk fruit sweetener that has erythritol in it. But in this case, I prefer the monk fruit allulose blend, only because in any recipe that is more of a wet, liquidy kind of base that doesn't have a whole lot of coconut flour to absorb taste and texture, I think the allulose mixes in smoother and gives a better texture and does not have an aftertaste. Sometimes if your recipe is more of a wet recipe and doesn't have a lot of coconut flour to absorb the sweetener, then the erythritol can have a bit of an aftertaste. That's why in this particular recipe, I prefer the granulated monk fruit allulose blend as opposed to the granulated monk fruit erythritol sweetener. You can use either or, but this just gives you a heads up. In my personal opinion, I think the monk fruit allulose blend in this recipe gives no aftertaste. Add 21 grams or around 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Whisk everything together until everything is fully combined. Then continue to whisk constantly for about 5 minutes or until the mixture is completely smooth and small bubbles start forming in the mixture. Do not let this come to a full rapid boil. It can start tasting a little bit on the burnt side if you let it go too long. So you're just wanting it to be hot enough to be able to fully combine everything and to just start seeing those bubbles just barely starting to form. Place a sieve or a strainer over your mixing bowl that has your firm gelatin. Make sure the gelatin is completely firm. Then carefully pour the hot chocolate mixture into the strainer over your gelatin. This is just going to help strain out any lumps that might be in your chocolate mixture. You shouldn't have any lumps if you've whisked it completely, but just in case there is, it's best to pour the mixture through a strainer or a sieve or something that's going to catch any small lumps. Whisk the gelatin and the hot mixture together until it's fully combined and smooth. This is going to melt your gelatin and you should have a nice smooth texture. Whisk in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract until everything is fully combined. Then set it aside for just a minute. Remove your crust from your refrigerator. Then carefully pour the chocolate mixture into your crust. And again, I say carefully because this is still hot, so be careful. Place the pie in your refrigerator for about 2 hours or until it begins to firm up. After 2 hours, remove the pie from the refrigerator and cover it loosely with some plastic wrap. Then place it back into the refrigerator so it can firm up some more. Now, technically, as soon as this pie is firmed up after 2-3 hours, you can slice it and eat it. But for me personally, the longer this pie sits, the more of a creamy type texture it gets. So I personally like to keep it in the refrigerator overnight so it gets a really good chill and that filling gets a chance to really fully set and become nice and creamy. So that's up to you exactly how long you want to keep it in your refrigerator, how creamy of a texture you want. Once you are ready to eat the pie, remove it from your refrigerator. If you want to, you can put some keto whipped cream or some topping of your choice on top of the pie before you slice it and serve it. I'm just using a little bit of keto whipped cream and some grated keto chocolate. I'll leave a link in the description to my keto whipped cream. If you do choose to use whipped cream on your topping, I would suggest that you stabilize the whipped cream, because if any of you have had any experience with whipped cream, whether it's store-bought or homemade, you know that once it is used, it deflates within like a couple hours. And it's not going to really completely ruin your pie, but ideally you don't want to have a deflated whipped cream topping if you are using whipped cream. So you can stabilize it one of 2 ways. You can either add melted gelatin to it, or you can beat in some cream cheese with your whipped cream to be able to give it a more firm, stable texture. Either way, that's only if you are planning on putting a whipped cream topping on it before you serve it. Otherwise, you can just slice and serve it and then put the whipped cream on it or any topping that you want on it. If you want a topping at all, it tastes good either way. But when you're ready, just slice and serve. If you do have any leftovers, cover the pie loosely with some plastic wrap or cut it into slices and put it in an airtight container and store it in your refrigerator for up to 1 week. I have not tried to freeze this. I'm not exactly sure. I have a feeling the texture might get a little funky, but I don't know. I haven't tried it. So if you try to freeze it and it works, let us know. If you do choose to try to freeze it, I would suggest slicing it into your desired slices before you freeze it. That way, if you don't want the whole pie out, you can just take 1 slice at a time. Either way, eat and enjoy. And that's our recipe of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want to see more recipes like this, make sure you click that thumbs up like button, click that subscribe button. Let me know if you have any recipes that you'd like to learn how to make, and I'll do what I can to get those out there for you. And as always, keep cooking.